Case studies are the foundation of building any credible long-term business, so make sure you use your clients' results to get more results and win more clients. What most people do is they tell a story about themselves. This is what I've done, this is how credible I am, this is what the experience I've had, where I went to school, blah, blah, blah. Hey there, expert. Rana Saini here. See, the wealthiest business coaches and consultants see business success as the system. This podcast, The Expert Advantage, contains real-world, in-the-trenches business advice that our clients use to gain a strategic advantage in growing their million-dollar expert business. It's my hope that you use these short lessons and insights to gain your strategic advantage in growing your expert business, and maybe one day soon partner with us at The Expert Project to take your expert coaching and consulting business to $1 million and beyond. I hope you share and enjoy. Hello. How are we doing? Listen, today we are going to go through a little something called the Case Study Converter. Now, I don't know if you've been following this for a little while or not, but one of the things that have been a real cornerstone of why we've been able to scale our business is because we've been able to strategically use the wins of our clients to actually win more clients. And there's a framework for how you should be capturing, curating, and getting content out there using case studies. Now, if you're in LinkedIn and you've used LinkedIn for a while, one of the things that you can do is get case studies installed on your profile. The second thing is, if you haven't already, you can actually get case studies put into your newsletter. And by the way, if you haven't got those things, you might just want to ask below this video, and we'll get you a copy of those worksheets. But for today, let's talk about the case study converter and how, if you're not capturing the wins and the experiences of your audience, you're losing a lot of opportunity and leaving a lot of money on the table. See, everyone who goes to work with you is going to look at you from a perspective of, do I trust the person? Do I believe the person? And do I trust that I would be able to work with this person to achieve the same result? And the easiest way to accelerate rapport and to accelerate someone making a decision to buy from you is give them some peers that they can compare to that increases their believability and increases their urgency. And so when I look at the case study converter, there's three things that you want a great case study to be able to do. The first thing that you want a case study to do is be able to tell and talk to the experience that they've had. People love a story. They love to see how someone's going, what someone's doing, what someone's done. It's why we all love reality TV. The second thing, people want to know what results have they achieved? Because the reason why that's important, that's his story, by the way, results give credibility, right? Credibility. Now, credibility is important because that's the first step to trust. If someone feels like you're credible, they feel like you're trustworthy, the last thing that you want to get is a recommendation. And a recommendation is really about trust. So we want to tell the story, we want to build credibility, and we want to build trust. Those three things are the basis for any great relationship. So if someone comes on a sales call with you, they'll already have had buy-in because you've used a case study, or they've watched a case study, or they've seen a case study, and they've been able to trust you, they've been able to buy into you, and as a result, it's going to be easier for them to buy from you. Now, to give you a case in point, I'm just going to jump here into and hopefully this works, by the way. I haven't tested this beforehand, which is probably not the greatest. But one of the things I'd like to show you is that in our Facebook, my LinkedIn page, you can see that I've actually got case studies here in my featured comments section, my featured section of the profile. I've actually added it in to my newsletters because you can see here, if I click here, from no process to 20K a month, I tell the story of Thomas and Kate, and you can see that Thomas and Kate were here, and we give a case study again. The next thing that is important is, as we go down into our experience, you can see that our experience is not about our experience, it's about the experience that clients have with us. So see, on LinkedIn, what most people do is they tell a story about themselves. This is what I've done. This is how credible I am. This is what the experience I've had, where I went to school, blah, blah, blah. What we want to do is we want to flip the script on that, and we want to be able to show how our clients have experienced us. So what we've done, marketing strategist, business strategist, author, and you'll see that every single one of these is a great opportunity to tell the story of our clients and their what? What are the three things? Their experience, the results, and the recommendations. Now, in today's workbook, if you haven't already, all I want you to do is comment, just comment, workbook below, comment workbook below, and we'll send you a copy of this workbook so you can have the scripts, the tactics, and the strategy to follow along. Happy to share. So let's dive in now to what a great case study should do. Whenever someone comes to you, the first thing they're going to be is they're going to want proof and awareness. Why? Because they want to believe in you. They want to believe that you can help them get the result that they want, right? That's what anyone does when they're looking at your LinkedIn profile, when they're looking at your website, when they're investigating you, they're looking to see, do I believe that this person is credible? Do I believe this person could help me achieve my goals? And finally, they're looking at the desire, the engagement, but our content and our case studies need to build urgency. And when believability and urgency come together, it creates opportunity. And that's what a great case study does. It should increase believability, increase the urgency to want to reach out to you. And as a result, it should want to generate opportunity for you. So people go, I saw that case study, I'm really in. Now, when people have low believability and low urgency, they are skeptical, right? They sit there skeptical and they don't really do anything. In fact, every now and then you might have had people respond saying, every now and then you get people who don't believe what you do or what you can do, and it almost seems too good to be true, right? You got skeptics. So how do we deal with skeptics? Because everyone starts off skeptical. We all start off skeptical. Before we know, we don't know, and in not knowing, we're actually judging because our brains are wired to scan for risk. So everything is a risk. So the way we de-risk our audience is by doing two things. We put some information into the marketplace. Now, people talk about ebooks and people talk about, brochures and white papers and all this stuff. But ultimately, what we're wanting people to do is a case study is really about getting people curious. Curious. That's interesting. But sending information to people is just a passive exercise, right? The reason why it's passive is because people go, I got the information, now I'll digest it. And digestion is a slow and boring process. It doesn't move you forward. It doesn't move them forward. So giving people more information is actually not helpful in conversion. Information leads to indigestion, right? People sit there and they become so passive and paralyzed by information. It's implementation that we want to work through. And the reason why we share experience, results, and recommendations is to build urgency for someone to want to work with you. And when you do that, you start to see that someone becomes interested. So we want to turn skeptical into interested and get them active. Active enough to what? Active enough for them to reach out to you and say, I'm interested. I'd like you to help me like you help Katie. I'd like you to help me like you help Bob. I'd like you to help me like you did with Jenny, right? That's what a great case study should do. And when you get the perfect balance of believability and the perfect balance of urgency, the opportunity that comes through is where we start getting people who are committed to taking action, where they desire what you have and they act to say, yes, I'm in, let's go. I believe you and I want to do some business with you. So again, if you'd like a copy of this worksheet before we go any further, just comment worksheet, workbook below, and I'll make sure I give you a copy of this workbook and a recording of this session as well, okay? So just jump in. Now, how do you deliver an amazing case study? What questions do you ask? How do you ask them? And how do you capture the right pieces of information? Now, I'm going to give you really important pieces of information right now because most people miss this. There's two things that make an amazing case study. Ready? Two things. The first thing is what we call intangible. Intangible outcomes or intangible experiences. So what that looks like is something that goes along the lines of this. Working with Rana was so inspirational. It was so great. I'm so passionate. I'm so much more motivated. I'm so much more inspired. I've got so much more energy. Fantastic. That is great, right? But it's a feeling-based outcome, and it's emotional. Nothing wrong with that. Emotional sets the tone. Emotional gives what you do energy, and it's really great because emotion is the basis of any good story, right? So stories help. That's not how you spell stories, for those of you who are checking. Stories get you to buy into something, right? If it was all tactical and practical, you'd be bored. Stories get buy-in, but stories might not get belief. Stories get buy-in, but stories might not get belief. What gets belief? Hey there, expert. So listen, our mission here at the Expert Project is to positively impact the world of other business coaches and consultants just like you. We want to help them make more impact, have more income, and have a positive influence on the world. And see, the only way we can do that is if you've heard something in today's episode that moved you, created an insight, changed your perspective, or gave you an aha moment. All I'd ask you to do is take 10 seconds, rate and review this podcast so together we can help spread the word about this podcast and have a positive influence in someone else's world. The second thing in a case study, the second thing is tangible outcomes and experiences. That's what we call facts, right? And it's more logic. And what that looks like is proof. We want proof, right? We want proof. Because if you want someone to believe in what you do, you need to give them evidence to support that belief. Now, what that looks like is an outcome that is something you can see, touch, feel, or measure, such as before I met Joe, I didn't know how to generate leads. After I met Joe, I'm generating 2 to 3 warm leads a day, right? Tangible. Before meeting Bob, our team culture was so poor, our sick days, we had 1 to 3 people every month that were away on sick leave. Now after working with Bob, the culture is so good that the percentage of people who are sick is actually like we don't have any sick leave processed for the last 2 months. It's great. Or I was so unorganized that I felt so tired every single day. By 11 o'clock, I'd have to sleep. After working with Sharon, I've got so much more energy. I feel like I go through the whole day, and by the end, I go to bed and I feel so rested. See, still tangible, right? Because there's a timeline associated. So what I'd like you to consider is before you jump into a case study with your client, ask them, can you think of a feeling outcome that you've had and a fact outcome that you've had? Just think of those two things. So I'm going to ask you about that, right? And then you let them think about it. So you condition and just give them a little bit of a pre-help, probing, so to speak, and get them to buy in, right? So they go, okay, good, I've got it. Then I want you to run this script. Now, people ask, how long should a good case study go for? Great question. A great case study should go for no more than 3 to 5 minutes. And what you want to do is for social media, for Reels, for Facebook, for anything else, this is great for YouTube, but for anything else like quick Reels, no more than 90 seconds. So what you do is you take the best bits, and really what you want to do is just take the results part and cut out the rest. Here you want to go experience, results, and recommendation. But in a 90-second reel, just take the results, snip it out of the results, because really at the end of the day, when someone's watching you for 90 seconds, what do I really care about? What are the results you've got, right? And it's powerful because you can just take the bits out and you can make out of one case study, you could probably get 3 or 4 really good grabs. So the next part is, these are the kind of case study, what we call the case study extractor, because we want to build the whole story around the client, and then we can edit it later. Another great thing to say to people before you jump into a case study is position them by saying the same thing. When I ask you a question, I just want you to repeat the question back to me. So if I say, can you introduce, what made you work with the Influencer Project, right, as a question? You want them to say, what made me work with the Influencer Project is, and I'm telling you that as a tip because for years I didn't do that and it was really hard to edit it. Just a tip. So here's what we want to do. Introduce yourself, the industry, that's not a very good highlighter. Introduce yourself, industry, and what you do, right? What does this do? It gives context. It gives context to who they are. You're building a character, a story, context around the character of the movie. The next thing that you want to do, by the way, for those of you who are live right now, thanks for being here. If you're watching on replay, just hashtag replay for later, or download the workbook, just comment workbook below and we'll make sure we give you a copy of the workbook. So what you want to then ask is, there's 2 things, and it's kind of the same thing, but you just ask it. So what made you want to work with the Influencer Project? What was the reason for you starting? Why is that an important question to ask? Because you know that probably 80% of your target market have the same reason for needing you. And the reason they need the same reason is because you want your case study to edify you and edify your audience, which means you want people to go, well, that's the same reason why I probably need you. So what it does is it validates your purpose, right? It validates the purpose. People go, great. If Bob needed you because my culture was bad and 80% of your clients have bad culture, guess what? It validates the reason for them starting. If Joe is experiencing poor lead flow and you say, the reason I started was I just didn't have any leads, it validates Joe's reason for wanting to work with you, right? So it validates the purpose for someone to want to reach out to you and help. So they'll see themselves in this case study. The next question that you want to go through is the program what you expected? Now, they'll say yes or no. You just want to say why. What this does is it starts to help the person answer a question in a very natural way. And it starts to unpack the value of the program or your service. It starts to break down that process. So people start hearing it from another person. So rather than you say it, we have a saying in the Influencer Project, and that is, if you say it, you're wrong. If they say it, they're right. So if you say it on a marketing video, people go, oh yeah, you're just saying that because it's your video. But if your audience is saying it, people go, oh, interesting. Really? Okay. That's interesting. So the program is what you expected. Why? It starts to unpack the value. And then you ask, what is the value? Now, what is the value directly and indirectly is code for directly is tangible and intangible. As we said before, right? As I said above here, this is indirect, this is direct. So what we're really asking is, remember how I asked you to think of those 2 things that you had before? Great. Now I'm going to ask you to say it. So you go, what was the value? What was the tangible and intangible value? What was the direct and indirect value? And what this does is it starts to talk about the results. Results. So this is up here really is the experience. And then we talk about the results. Now the results are another way to validate in the brain of the person listening how credible you are. right? How credible you are. Results give you credibility. And so what we want to do is ask for those two things. What was something that they, like an emotion, a feeling, and what was a fact, an outcome, an achievement, a result that they can see? And what you want to ask for there is, it might say, well, a result is, I felt really great. I mean, I felt great when I started, but now I feel amazing. It's the best thing ever. And then the second thing is, and as a result of that, I've been able to run 2 marathons without back pain. You know, if you're a chiropractor or whatever. But if you're a coach or a consultant in, say, a legal firm, and you coach lawyers, for example, the lawyer will say, yeah, look, I was stressed and I was burnt out, but now as a result, I'm feeling so productive. In fact, my productivity is so good, I'm billing clients, I'm working with half the amount of clients and earning double the amount of revenue, right? That's just as an example. Great result. And then what you say is, we want to go for the recommendation. What would you say to someone thinking about doing the program? What would you say to someone thinking, that's a direct way to say, can you just give me a recommendation? And they will say, I would say, what? Someone thinking about doing the program, for someone thinking about doing the program, I would say, you just got to do it. You just got to do it. I mean, I was like you too, and the more as an interviewer that you can just pause, let them speak, the better. So when you're able to do that, it really starts to then get them to recommend you. And as a result of that recommendation, you're doubling, it's times 2 cred, right? It just amplifies the credibility. I love this one here. And by the way, I don't know why these words are a bit all over the place, but hey, progress, not perfection, as we say. In one word, how would you describe the influencer project process, right? I love the one word thing. Do you know why? Because it challenges people to condense something down, a full experience, into one word. And they'll say something like, one of the things that we get a lot is game changer. And we have a laugh because it's kind of like hyphen. Okay, you get one word, game changer. But the reason why that happens is because it gets them to think, and it just is a little bit of, it's like it punctuates the possibility and gives more validation to your process. I also say, any other thoughts or last words about the process that you think would be helpful for other people to understand, and then I let them speak, right? And by the way, as a little tip, if you're ever shooting a case study, you just leave the camera running. Leave the camera running for another 3 or 4 minutes while you talk about the process, have a laugh, because it's usually after the camera stops that they relax and then they start coming out with gold. You know, it's so funny. I never thought I'd be able to do this. And without you, you've changed my life, blah, blah, blah. And you go, God damn, I didn't record that on the camera. So just a little tip. So to give you an example, as I said, if you haven't done any LinkedIn newsletters or something, do LinkedIn newsletters. We've got the training in our Facebook group in the boardroom right here. So as you can see, from doubters to believers, what we've gone through is we're just talking about, Robert and his coaching business and how it's helped him. But we've turned our case study into content. We've then changed it and added it to our wins page. So as you can see here on our wins page, we add all our case studies to our wins page as well. And it looks a little something like this. So you can see all the case studies here, everything about the process, how we've done it, all of the wins that we've got for our clients. And we just keep adding and adding and adding and adding to our case studies. And what it does is it went from 1 lead a month to 7 leads a week. Tangible, 10 times our investment, tangible, 990K, 150K, tangible, 8 to 9 times return on investment, tangible, 600K in less than 2 months, tangible. You see what I mean? And so the purpose for that is and by the way, there's a link here as well. So if you get the workbook, all you need to do again is comment workbook, and we'll give you a copy of the workbook, right? We have a YouTube playlist, so you can see all of our case studies in YouTube. Right. And you could do the same. It doesn't take much to set up a YouTube channel and get one case study every single month. Instagram stories, right? I implemented a strategy. I'm at $1.3 million in recurring revenue after working with Rana and the guys at the Influencer Project. Perfect. So we just added again, tangible. You guys can see how it works, right? Remember, if you need a copy of the workbook, comment workbook. I got you. Our team or myself will send you a copy. But in the meantime, that is the case study converter. I hope it's been helpful for you guys. Case studies are the foundation of building any credible long-term business. So make sure you use your clients' results to get more results and win more clients.